I hiked the Angels Rest Trail today. It's a loop trail in the Columbia Gorge that takes in scenic Angels Rest, the eerie Devil's Rest, and the beautifully forested Waukena Trail. It's an 11-mile hike with an overall elevation gain of 3,400 feet. The elevation gain on this trail makes it a good training hike for the brutal ascents on the John Muir Trail that I'm going to be doing with Tom Willard at the end of this summer.
That's Angel's Rest right there. Angel's Rest.
As you can see, the weather was typical of the Pacific Northwest, damp and cool. It was just a light mist today, but enough of a mist to wet my clothing and my gear. I had to fight all day to keep my camera lens from fogging, and as you can see during this film, I lost the battle many times. There are a number of Columbia Gorge trails that make great training hikes in preparation for the John Muir Trail. The ascents and elevation gains are similar. All these gorge trails rise precipitously from the Columbia River, climbing the steep basalt walls of the gorge. I wasn't able to film any of the ascents on this hike. I was just in too much pain to think about recording the grind, although I now regret it. The only disadvantage I'll have using these trails in the gorge is that the altitude is much lower than the John Muir Trail, which follows the crest of the Sierras. These gorge trails have always held a sacred attraction for me. The glorious waterfalls, the old-growth Douglas fir and red cedar, the grand views of the gorge itself, and perhaps most impressive of all, the atmosphere of peace and serenity. I remember coming up here to a trail much like this one on a day off from work 5 or 6 years ago. I was feeling stressed out from my job, and I needed a respite. As I drove out to the trail, I recall telling myself how foolish I was to move here from the Midwest. We were right in the middle of the rainy season at that time, and I suppose a lot of people say that during a 30-day stretch of wet, dreary Pacific Northwest weather. But as I walked the path in the cool mist of the gorge, all the anxiety of life melted away as I listened to the waterfalls hiss and the birds call out to me under the canopy of the giant Douglas firs. I felt an overwhelming sense of God's presence up here. I wasn't long on the trail before I was then telling myself that I must never leave the Pacific Northwest, for God was meeting me here in this forest. It was John Muir who said, "Everybody needs beauty as well as bread, places to play in and pray in, where nature may heal and give strength to body and soul." Each section of the trail had its own character, which made the entire hike enjoyable. The Waukena Trail portion of the loop hike entertained me with its array of wildflowers gracing the trail. There are over 800 varieties of wildflowers in the gorge. On this trail, I had a never-ending show of blue lupine, white cucumber, and columbine. On the Waukena Trail, from time to time, I was able to see and hear the highway far below me. It was a lesson to me that as humans, we really do live in two worlds. I suppose we need both, but on this day, I was glad to be in this one. With only 2 miles to go, I took my own rest at the rock outcropping appropriately named Angel's Rest. As I sat on the edge, I thought that perhaps angels were at my side, taking their rest with me and enjoying this serene view of the gorge. If I were an angel, I know where I would take my rest.